May 1940. Northern France. The coast of Dunkirk. Soldiers are everywhere along the beach, as far as the eye can see. British, French, Belgian. They have laid down their weapons. They are exhausted and bewildered. German troops are closing in and behind them. Ahead lies the English Channel, cold, choppy, and endless. 330,000 soldiers are trapped on this beach, and there aren't enough ships to save them. In London, Churchill is meeting with his cabinet. The numbers are brutal. At best, 45,000 soldiers can be saved. The rest will be taken prisoner, or worse. But that night, ordinary people in England turned on the radio, and they couldn't believe what they heard. The government wanted every vessel capable of crossing the English Channel. Fishing boats, passenger ferries, private yachts, river ferries, anyone and anything. And people went. Ordinary British citizens set out for the battlefield in their own boats. But the true mystery of the story lies not on the shore, but in the command center. Why did the German tanks stop just 30 kilometers from Dunkirk? Whose decision was that? And if that decision hadn't been made, how would history have been written? This battle is taking place between two forces. On one side, the Allied forces of Britain, France, and Belgium. 330,000 soldiers who are surrounded, retreating, and awaiting rescue. On the other side, Nazi Germany's Western Offensive, an army that had achieved one of history's swiftest military victories by bringing France to its knees in a single week. Dates: May 26 to June 4, 1940. Duration: 9 days. Operation name: Operation Dynamo. Location: Dunkirk, a port city on the English Channel coast of northern France. Today, a quiet coastal town. In 1940, the scene of history's most dramatic evacuation operation. A small but critical note: Dunkirk was not a victory. Churchill made this clear. Wars are not won by evacuations. But without Dunkirk, there would have been no army left to fight. And this distinction, that fine line between defeat and victory, makes understanding Dunkirk essential. Field analysis. The geography of Dunkirk made the evacuation both possible and extremely difficult. The beach is flat and wide. This allows small boats to approach the shore, but it also leaves the soldiers exposed, with no cover against air attacks. Thousands of people are waiting in line on the beach. German planes are approaching from above. The water is shallow. Large ships cannot dock at the shore. Soldiers had to wade through waist-deep water to reach the small boats. These transfers were both slow and dangerous. But the geography had one advantage. The canals and water obstacles west of Dunkirk made it difficult for German tanks to advance. And it was this geographical obstacle, combined with the hold order, that bought the Allies life-saving time. From the perspective of the Royal Air Force, the geography is critical. Dunkirk is so close to the English coast that Spitfire and Hurricane fighters can patrol the area, but only for a limited time. Every flight is counted in minutes, and this time pressure creates gaps in air coverage. Geography didn't win this battle, but it didn't lose it either. And sometimes that's enough. Force comparison. The balance of power was entirely in the Germans' favor as this battle began. On the German side, an army that had swept through Western Europe in 10 days, shattered the French and British defenses, and enjoyed full logistical support and superior morale. Tanks were within 30 kilometers of Dunkirk. The Air Force was active. The Navy was in the English Channel. On the Allied side, soldiers who were surrounded, forced to abandon their weapons and equipment, exhausted and disoriented. The defensive line had collapsed. The chain of command was chaotic. There were coordination issues between French and British commanders. Mathematically, the vast majority of these forces should have been taken prisoner. And here comes that mysterious decision. May 24, 1940. With the Germans just 30 kilometers from Dunkirk, Hitler ordered his armored units to halt. For 2 days, the tanks remained stationary. Those 2 days were exactly the time the Allies needed to establish their evacuation route. Why? Was it Göring's confidence that the Air Force could finish the job? A desire to protect the armored units? Or was it Hitler's calculation to keep the door open for negotiations with Britain? This question remains unanswered among military historians to this day. Preparation phase and command structure. Admiral Bertram Ramsay, the architect of Operation Dynamo. He directed the operation from a headquarters he had set up inside Dover Castle, in tunnels carved into the cliffs. He went without sleep for hours on end, adapting to constantly changing conditions with split-second decisions. Ramsay's task was nearly impossible. There were no large enough ships, the air threat was constant, and sea conditions were unpredictable. The solution was unconventional. Every type of seaworthy vessel was mobilized. A call went out to small boat owners. The civilians who answered this call went down in history. Fishermen, retirees, small boat owners. Some had never been to a battlefield before, but they went. A total of 868 small boats crossed the English Channel. The land defense was led by Lord Gort, commander of the British Expeditionary Force. He held British and French troops in place around Dunkirk until the very last moment. Had this defensive line collapsed, the evacuation would have ended before it was completed. For Churchill, Dunkirk was one of history's most difficult political tests. Discussions about surrender took place within the cabinet. Lord Halifax proposed negotiating with Germany through Mussolini. Churchill rejected the idea, and the soldiers returning from Dunkirk proved his decision was the right one. On the German side, Wehrmacht commanders Rundstedt and Kleist objected to the order to halt the tanks. "Let's finish them off," they said. But Hitler did not change his mind, and this decision altered the course of the war. Chronology of the war. May 10th to 20th, 1940. Collapse. Germany's unexpected advance through the Ardennes shatters the Allied front. The French Ninth Army collapses. The British Expeditionary Force is pushed northward toward the sea. Belgium surrenders. Dunkirk becomes the only escape route. May 24th. Hitler's halt order. German armored units receive an order to halt just 30 kilometers from Dunkirk. They remain stationary for 2 days. The Allies used these 2 days to establish an evacuation line. Historians still debate the rationale behind this order. May 26th, Operation Dynamo begins. Ramsay receives the official evacuation order. The first ship set sail for Dunkirk. On the first day, 7,000 soldiers are rescued, far short of the target. But it has begun. May 27th to 29th, the miracle of the small boats. Civilian vessels begin crossing the English Channel. Fishing boats, passenger ferries, small motorboats. Soldiers are transferred to these vessels in the shallow waters where large ships cannot dock. 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 soldiers are evacuated each day. The numbers rise every day. May 30th to June 2nd. German pressure intensifies. The German Air Force is trying to block the evacuation. Ships are sinking, and casualties on the shore are rising. British fighter planes are patrolling the area. But time is limited. Every day is a race. Will more be saved, or will there be more casualties? June 3rd to 4th. The last soldiers. British troops have largely been evacuated, but French troops are still on the beach. Ramsay sends the last ships for the French soldiers. On the morning of June 4th, the final ship departs from Dunkirk. Total evacuated: 338,000 soldiers. More than 7 times the original target. Strategic and psychological impacts. The strategic outcome of Dunkirk is paradoxical. A victory born out of defeat. The soldiers were rescued, But their weapons were left behind on the beach. Thousands of guns, tanks, and trucks were abandoned in France. Britain seemed defenseless, and France surrendered within a few weeks. But consider this. What if those 338,000 soldiers had been captured at Dunkirk? Britain would have had no army left to fight. Churchill's "We shall fight to the end" speech would have been empty rhetoric. And there might not have been a Britain for America to fight alongside in the years to come. Dunkirk made it possible for World War II to continue. It was that simple and that significant. The psychological impact, however, was unexpectedly positive. A concept known as the Dunkirk spirit emerged in Britain. The solidarity and courage displayed by ordinary people under extraordinary circumstances. The civilian ships heading to the battlefield demonstrated a nation's character to the world. Churchill's June 4th speech crowned this spirit with words. What he said in Parliament ranks among the most powerful words in British history. This speech, which transformed defeat into a narrative of victory, is also one of the masterpieces of political communication history. For the Germans, however, Dunkirk became a symbol of a missed opportunity. Hitler's stop order lingered in the consciences of German generals for years. Had that order not been given, the war could have ended in 1940. This what-if question remains one of the most frequently debated topics among military historians. Dunkirk is a quiet coastal town today. In the summer months, vacationers stroll along that beach. They go for a swim. They soak up the sun. 80 years ago, on that same beach, 338,000 soldiers were awaiting their deaths. Dunkirk teaches us many things, but perhaps the most important is this. Even in the midst of defeat, there is a moment of choice: to surrender or to carry on. And this choice is not always made by generals, but sometimes by ordinary people. Those men who took a fishing boat and crossed the English Channel didn't know this. They simply went. And that journey changed the course of history. Was Dunkirk a miracle? Perhaps. But miracles don't happen on their own. Behind it all were Ramsay's sleepless nights, Gort's defensive line, Churchill's stubbornness, and the nameless people on those fishing boats. History is sometimes written in numbers. Sometimes it's written in the sound of a small boat's engine. In our next video, we're taking to the skies. 1940. Just after Dunkirk, Germany decided to crush Britain from the air. For the first time in history, a country was targeted for surrender using only air power. Spitfires, Hurricanes, and vastly outnumbered German aircraft. Every day, every hour, in the skies over Britain. The Battle of Britain. See you in the next video.